News here, a well-known rapper with a big following on social media could be headed back to prison after he pleaded guilty to a gun charge in federal court today.
Boosie was arrested during a traffic stop here in San Diego 2 years ago. CBS 8's Kelly Hessedall joins us live downtown. Kelly, you were in the courtroom. You also spoke to Boosie. What can you tell us?
That's right, and his legal name is Torrance Hatch. Now, a lot of times defendants don't really want to talk to us if they're still going through court proceedings, but he was fine with it. He says he accepts responsibility for what happened, and he's ready to move forward.
I want to put it behind me. I want to get it behind me and get on with my life. You know, it's a lot of things this case has stopped me from doing, traveling all across the world, making. So I just want to get it over with, and, you know, accept my guilty plea. I'm ready to get over with.
Anything you want to say to your fans?
Just say a prayer for me. I just need prayer. I don't need nothing else. Yeah.
And his attorney provided us this video of him performing on stage. Now, Hatch, known as Boosie to his fans, now awaits sentencing. He's a father of 9 kids. His fiance was with him in court today. So some background on this case. It stems from a traffic stop in San Diego in May 2023. Hatch was arrested in Choice View after police found 2 guns inside a vehicle he was riding in. Now, the state charges were eventually dropped, but the feds then pursued a case against him because he was a convicted felon in possession of a firearm, which violates federal law. Now, the 42-year-old rapper announced earlier this month on social media that he was going to take a plea deal. And so this morning he went before a judge and entered that guilty plea. So here's what his defense attorney told me outside court.
I am optimistic for Mr. Hatch. He, as he just explained, wanted nothing more than to accept responsibility and put this behind him. And now it's my job to make sure the court understands the scope of the case and what the case is really about. And more importantly, all of the amazing things that Mr. Hatch has done for the community, continues to do, and the amazing things that he will do going forward.
And Hatch currently lives in Atlanta. Now, he faces a maximum of 15 years behind bars. His defense attorney did not disclose any parts of the plea agreement or any details about it, but the judge made it very clear today, regardless of what's in that plea agreement, it is the sentencing judge who will have the final say. So the sentencing hearing is set for November 21st, which is just days after Hatch's birthday. Anna, Carlo.
Kelly, one thing you mentioned is that state charges were dropped here and the feds picked up the case. What else can you tell us about how this case moved its way through the system?
Yeah, and there was a lot of back and forth, and some of that had to do with the fact that the U.S. Supreme Court recently made a decision basically stating that you cannot prevent people who were convicted of non-violent crimes of owning firearms. So at the end of the day, Hatch could have continued fighting this charge, but as you heard him say, he's ready to move on with his life. He does not want to continue for this to drag out in court.
Yeah, he wants to move on with his life and get back to work. It's holding him back, sounds like. Okay, thanks so much for that, Kelly.
Yo, it's Big Ant the spokesman, man. We back. Another edition of Urban Politicians TV, UPTV. Make sure you stay on your pivot at all times, man. Had to come tap in, and I had a link in the description where you could watch the clip in the beginning in full from CBS 8 San Diego, where they were able to catch up with Boosie right when he came out the courtroom yesterday from accepting his guilty plea officially on the record, as he did make this announcement already. And I'm going to get into the write-up in just a second that kind of goes back over how Boosie could have kind of kept fighting this if he wanted to possibly get this overturned. But he eventually said, you know what, I'm done with it. I'm tired of going back and forth, because in the end, it can still be a possibility. I spend all this money on these lawyers, all this time and things, and then it still don't work in my favor. As this happened 2 years ago, and what we already know, and you heard them even say right there, most people don't even want to speak on the situation after they come out of court, but they said, hey, Boosie decided to go ahead and speak on it, as he had already done an interview with Vlad, said that, hey, man, I'm accepting full accountability, responsibility, said I did have the gun on me. I was ready to go get that money right there in that moment. Me and my security guard went. The gun was strictly for protection while I was shooting this music video right now, as he did not know, and the other guys did not know that they were being watched. But Boosie said, hey, man, it ain't on them. It's completely on me. It's in God's hands now. I'm going to take accountability for this and responsibility. Did get it dropped at first. The prosecutor was on him. prosecutor wanted them, and they went for the gusto on it in the Supreme Court in this situation right here. Now they saying 2 to 15 years max. That's the thing, and it's going to be all on the sentencing judge. No matter how it play out, it depends on how they feel. They got regards and guidelines. They said that the government is recommending the 2-year sentence. It's still a possibility that Boosie, because in the federal level, they can give him credit served for the time that he was on the ankle monitor already. So that can make that sentence even lighter, but we can't predict. I don't know this judge exactly. We don't know how they feel about this in this storyline. It's all on them at the end of the day. But Boosie said he ready for it. As it says, Hatch was initially charged by the San Diego County District's Attorney Office. His defense attorneys have stated that Hatch intended to plead guilty in the state's case and was expected to be sentenced to probation. But the state's case was dismissed before that plea deal could be reached, and federal prosecutors took up the case. U.S. District Judge Kathy Benventiago, who is now slated to sentence Hatch in November, dismissed the case against Hatch last year following a 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruling that said it was unconstitutional to prohibit convicted felons who serve sentences for nonviolent drug offenses from possessing firearms. San Diego federal prosecutors refiled the charges against Hatch a short time after the case was dismissed. A larger panel of the 9th Circuit also overturned its earlier ruling, finding that banning felons from possessing firearms does not violate the Constitution. And to my understanding, I could be wrong right here, but the judge that's going to sentence Boosie is the same judge that had previously dropped the case already under the 9th Circuit Duarte ruling, where Duarte, a dude out of Inglewood or something like that, had got his conviction overturned for being a felon in possession with a firearm, as he had appealed it after he had got them to rule that it is unconstitutional to hold him accountable because he has no violent crimes on his history, even though he was a convicted felon. Him not having any violent offenses in convictions, he should still be able to get his right to carry a gun. So that's how Boosie had got his dismissed. When we seen him cutting off the ankle monitor, he was happy about it. It was getting dropped. Everything was good. But that prosecutor came back up and recharged him again. And then later on, they came back and reversed Duarte's decision and said, well, nah, we're going to take that appeal back from you, and it is constitutional for us to charge you with being convicted felon, even though you have no nonviolent offenses. Same thing with Boosie. None of his convictions are violent crimes. They're drug charges. So they said, well, hey, well, nah, it's going to be for him too. Boosie could have still kept fighting in this situation, but he chose not to. Just go ahead and face and deal with whatever he got to deal with. So we'll have to see how everything play out with that. And I stand what I stand on with what I said before when it comes to felons in possession of firearms. This is not just a Boosie thing. This is just not an entertainer thing. I don't care if you're a rapper. I don't care if you got a food truck. I don't care if you're a barber, beautician, or anything under the sun. I feel if you have no nonviolent convictions, that you should be able to get your right to carry a gun back in America. Now, it is the law. You need to follow the law. If you are this, if you break the law, these are the consequences of this. You will go down like this right here. That is what that is. Understood. I just say that with this Constitution, it was created hundreds of years ago by men who were flawed, because a lot of them was racist. They believed in black Americans was not humans at that time. They did people dirty. They created laws that benefited them in this moment. And I feel like it's time to go rewrite a lot of these outdated laws in America. They only ended segregation 60 years ago, y'all. And we got that done by force. They didn't wake up one day and said, hey, you know what? We made this wrong for Jim Crow and all these things to be legal, and so we want to do right now. No, we had to force their hand. And it's a lot of laws and a lot of protocol that is outdated that was created hundreds of years ago. So I'd be saying that if somebody is providing a real legal business, as in Boosie or whoever, I don't care who it is, you can be broke, rich, popular, unpopular. If you have a legal business, you have a right to protect yourself in this country. Boosie was there working legally. He pays taxes with this money. Other people do the same thing, and I just feel that way. That's just my personal opinion on it. But people, they want to try to make it seem like, oh, you just doing that for a rapper. Bro, I don't know Boosie personally. I'm just speaking from the real, from how my mind works and how I think about things, my nigga. I'm not going with the indoctrination in these type of situations. But tell me what y'all think. We got more coming, more videos, all that. 1,000 for shit show. Stay on your pivot.